And I'm joined now by Jan Macvarish, Education and Events Director at the Free Speech Union, as well as my most intellectual panel, Nigel Nelson and Paul Goodman. Jan, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So the Durham Union won't agree to the Student Union's terms and conditions of presenting at the Freshers' Fair. Isn't the Student Union right to be able to say, if you don't sign up, we won't have you?
Well, actually, the Durham Union has gone out of its way to try to get itself back into the good books of the Students' Union. So it has actually partaken in some training programmes. It's made appointments to its committee in line with what was previously being demanded of it by the Student Union. But at each point where they comply, something new is brought in. So I suspect there's more of a campaign, actually, by the Student Union to delegitimise the Durham Union from campus and to sort of marginalise them as somehow unacceptable people to be part of the campus life.
And are we sure this is about free speech? Because I was at Oxford Union and Oxford University and belonged to the Oxford Union. And the Student Union was always very jealous of the Oxford Union because people cared about the Oxford Union and ASU was just this random thing that nobody could be fussed with. Do you think the Durham Student Union is just jealous of the historic Durham Union with its wonderful debating chamber and its history? It's not really free speech, it's just the green-eyed monster.
I don't think that's very convincing because this is going on everywhere. So as we already know, this has happened at Oxford Union as well, and numerous debate societies and indeed new societies that try to set up, which are much less formal and old-fashioned, if you like, and stuffy, are just trying to create spaces for students to meet on campus and have open conversations, and they too are greeted with barriers put in place by student unions. So they might be, just put through kind of hoops that other societies wouldn't be put through, or denied affiliation to the student union. So there's all kinds of ways in which a more diverse range of views are denied a platform or a space in university life.
But isn't it strange you get excluded on the basis of inclusivity? Just the use of language is so peculiar.
Well, in a way it is, yes, but then the inclusion terms are set by the bureaucrats or the ideologues. So that's where the kind of parameters of inclusion come from. So they're not something that's been agreed by anybody.
And do you think the Act that the Conservatives passed through Parliament would have protected the Durham Union in these circumstances?
Yes, I think it could have done, because I think the student union would have had to make time and put effort into complying with the new regulations, which meant it would have had to actually actively promoted and supported free speech amongst students. The university, more broadly, would have had to hold the student union to account for meeting those criteria as well. And then students would have also known that they were more protected. And then secondly, if the Durham Union was continually denied access to the other students, in effect, then they could have complained to the Office for Students, and that could have been adjudicated by the Office for Students between the two parties. And then, further to that, if that didn't then resolve the dispute, then there could have been a legal action taken by the Durham Union against the Students' Union and the university.
Actually, the right is poorly represented in universities and doesn't engage with universities as much as it should.
Well, that is probably true. But in this case, we are talking about a bit of a storm in a teacup. I mean, what in fact the university did was provide an alternative venue for the Durham Union to recruit the students that they wanted to do. So in the end, everyone was happy.
But that's not quite right, is it? Because if everybody goes to the Freshers' Fair and you then have some event afterwards that nobody turns up to, that is not equivalent.
Well, also, it wasn't just that it was an event, it was the fact that the Durham Union had to actually have their stall outside under a gazebo. Now, and they also had to have security, which was provided by the university. But the reason they need security is because they've been monstered for the past 4 years. And the label has been put on them that somehow these are unacceptable people. These are just kids, basically. I mean, impressive young people who are running an impressive society and taking on the mantle of debate. But I looked at their programme for the coming term, and they have councillors from every political party speaking. They have a bishop, a reverend, a Muslim, a Jew. They have an atheist from the National Secular Society. They have a football manager, and they have a female astronaut. So I don't really think you could get much more diversity going on.